Hello and welcome to another live stream. So for those of you that haven't seen one of these before, these are the live streams where we live coach, we dive deep into things, whether it's topics or with guests. And yeah, if you need a quick intro to me, if you're watching on a platform that isn't Facebook and you know me, I'm three-time exited founder, John Cavendish. I'm an NLP master practitioner, Tony Robbins senior leader. And yeah, really I do these things to both help you, so provide free sessions, which usually charge between $1,000 and $1,500 for, and also just so you get an experience of what this is. It makes great content. So welcome to the live stream. If you're watching this stream on any platform, do feel free to drop in the comments. Some of them do come through to StreamYard where we stream through. And yeah, looking forward to diving in today. So if you came for the last session, you know we did a real like an hour and 20-minute deep dive with Sean. Sean is a coachee. He's actually in Vietnam at the moment where I am, but he's heading back to the US in a few days. So he may or may not be joining us today. He's currently at the airport in a huge security line. So we'll see if he makes it. But in his absence, we have a really interesting topic to dive into. So if anything resonates with you, or if you'd like to be on the next live stream, please DM me. That's the easiest way. Either comment on this video if you're on YouTube and say me, or DM me personally if you're on any of my other platforms, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or somewhere else, and I'll set you up for the next live stream. We do have a registration site, but just DM me and I'll probably dive in and set you up. Fly. So I prepared some questions over here that we can dive into today in Sean's absence, because I think the two things that people ask me about the most, it's either to do with like motivation, mindset, keeping going, or it's money. And I feel like money is the biggest leverage, because the money is the reason that we start this often, just to increase income, to give more freedom, to have whatever money means to you, because money is a magnifier. Like the more money you have, in my experience, just makes you more of who you are. You know, it's like saying, if I grow my business, I'm going to grow into profitability, which I've heard from many people. I'm sure you have as well. But if I have more money, I'm going to be more like this, more like that. No, you're just going to be more of yourself. And I've been very grateful as I've had more and more money to be able to be more generous, more free, more, just more of myself, which is great. So it magnifies us completely. Just like relationships magnify emotion, money, I think, magnifies our own personality traits. So let's just dive into some money beliefs, some money problems, and making some money, to be honest. It's always good to make more money, as long as it doesn't take away from your freedom, in my experience. So just a story then. So back in 2013, I'm getting old. It's crazy, isn't it, when you think about half your life back and you were at university half your life ago. But back in 2013, I was doing a graduate training scheme from 2011 to 2013, and I was just unhappy. And I was in the UK making £30,000, so $40,000 a year, good graduate salary in the UK back in 2013. And I thought more money would make me happy, because I was just getting by. Like, this is in London. London is expensive. And I was like, if I can make some more money, that will solve my problems. You know, money solves money problems. I didn't really have money problems because I wasn't struggling month to month. I always budgeted well. I never budgeted, but I never spent over my total monthly net, and I saved a bit. So the way I always used to budget, because I was never been a detail-oriented person, is I would start with this much. This is my total. I just can't spend more than that. Then if I run out of money, I run out of money, but I never did usually. Okay, back into it. I thought more money would make me happy. So I started contracting. I went from being an employed engineer on this graduate training scheme. I handed my notice and I started looking for contracts. And luckily, for my grad scheme, I'd worked with a really good company. They were great people, and they actually placed me in other companies. And they were charging me out as a 25-year-old at £500 a day, which, what's that, $650 a day. And at the time, that's a huge amount of money, because it's still a lot of money for a day, isn't it? Especially for me, an untrained 25-year-old. And I've always looked older. Hopefully, I'd say I look my age now. I hope. But back in the day, I definitely looked over 30. I had stubble and amazing beard, of course. But I had stubble, and no, I never really told anyone my age because I thought it would stand against me. I had the same conversation with a member of my team recently. Like, I have no problem with someone being the youngest person in the room because I was always the youngest person in the room. At the same time, just a small aside, if you've read How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis, awesome book. It has some very lines I probably shouldn't say on social media, but really good book about making money. His thing, and one of his things I took away is get talent young and cheap, train it, write it up, and then it gets too expensive for you, especially, you know, in the West. Like, you have really good people, get them young, use their talent, use their enthusiasm until they get too expensive, and then they can go work for a big company who can afford to pay them the six-figure salary that they will deserve once they get to that level of experience. So anyway, I quit the job. I was like, try and find a contract. And I was like, I had like 2-3 months runway. So this time I was just so in pain, because you only make a big decision like that when you're in pain, as in I was unhappy, that I made the decision, I cut it, and I was like, I need to find a contract. And I was looking around, I applied for contracts, I only got any responses. But then so luckily, I was already in a contract with my previous company at this other company. And they said, do you want to stay on? We've been thinking about it. Do you want to stay on? And I've not even asked them, because I didn't want to step on the toes of my previous employer, to be honest. I was afraid of that. Because I owed, technically, for leaving the graduate training scheme within 4 years, I owed them, I think, £3,000. And back then, £3,000 was a lot of money to me. I don't think I had £3,000 in cash on top of the house I bought the previous year for £15,000 down, because it was only a £100,000 house. Should have kept it. It's doubled in price. So they offered me the job, and suddenly I went from earning £30,000 a year to £400 a day. And £400 a day works out to be about £8,000 a month pre-tax. And then this was before the UK law changed a bit, and you could get away with offsetting more stuff against your taxes. Basically, this was a contractor loophole that closed like a year or two after I left. So rather than me having to pay the real tax of like an employee in that salary, which is what, basically nearly £100,000 a year. It was like £7,500 a month, so like £90,000 a year. Rather than having to pay 40% tax, I got away with paying legally, because I offset a bunch of stuff, like 12% tax or 15% tax overall. So what happened there was I managed to accumulate some money in the company. I did it for 6 months, another 6 months, another 6 months. I got an 18-month contract. And because I was already living on a £30,000 salary, I accumulated some money. I started accumulating cash. I can check my spreadsheet, but I assume I accumulated maybe 50 grand or 60 grand. And I was just as unhappy. I just had more money, because I realized I hadn't got any more freedom. I hadn't got any more flexibility. I just had cash. And I would always suggest to anyone, I would take cash over job security, because what is job security? Job security is as secure as the person you're working for and how long they want to keep you, because they can always get rid of you. So I would take the money and no security over security, because money is security. Money is runway. I would also say this and share this with all my team members, because I would suggest to them, accumulate so that you're not dependent upon anyone. Anyway, during this time, I realized that, yes, I tripled my salary, because it was probably over 120K equivalent salary once you'd remove the tax thing, because I was paying less tax. So, and it made me no more happy. I mean, it's great to have flexibility, great to have buffer, but I was like, I still don't like doing this. I'm just getting paid better to do it. I don't feel good at it. I don't feel competent. I feel like I'm failing. So it was a big lesson for me. And during that time, I was reading a bunch of online blogs. A really good one at the time was called Bold and Determined, but he's since closed it down. And he mentioned going to a meetup in Ho Chi Minh City, and a meetup by a thing called the Dynamite Circle, the DC. And I was like, that's a weird name, isn't it? Sounds very bro-y. So anyway, so I look up the DC, I see, I can join if I'm making money. I just made my first sale online. This was like January 2015. So my first few sales, or I was just launching that week. I applied and they let me in. I think now they wouldn't have let me in, because I wasn't making money at the time. They would have let me in a few weeks later. So I joined, and they had an event coming up in June in Barcelona. So I've got a picture from that event. I went to that event in June in Barcelona, and it like broke open my mind. I was like, I had like the wristband from the DC. I met all these cool people. I saw what life could be like. And I remember sitting back at my desk afterwards, just like playing with this wristband. I've got some of the other wristbands somewhere. They've stopped doing them. And I was like, wow, life couldn't be like this. Like all these people have this freedom. They've all got businesses that, they're making same money as I am or less, some of them, but some of them making a lot more, of course. Like if I can get this company up to $2,000 a month, I can go to the next event in Bangkok in October and then continue traveling, spend 3 months in Vietnam or 6 months in Vietnam. That was my goal at the time. Spend a few months in Asia, then come back with freedom. Yeah. And so I saw the light, and I only saw that because I spent time with other people in a similar situation. And back then, we were all, the people I met on the same stage as me, we were all trying to make like $2,000 a month on the internet or $4,000 a month on the internet. We didn't have these huge dreams of 7-figure businesses, 8-figure businesses that so many of us built over the coming decade. But back then, it was just about freedom. And it doesn't take that much to give freedom, especially in the modern world where everyone watching this is a smart, competent person, probably of higher than average intelligence, qualified in some way. Doesn't matter if you are qualified or not. In some ways, I think it holds us back being qualified because we think we have to follow our qualification. But so I'm just checking the messages, see if Sean's coming. But that's what holds us back. We can all make money, and I'm sure all of you who've worked at a real job, a job in an office or something, have seen like consultants come in, get paid ridiculous money, and deliver not much compared to what you think you should get for that money. Well, that's the rate that people do, because if you do external work, you should earn about 3 times the amount of someone doing it internally, because internally they have overheads and employment contracts, and they're stuck with you. So that was my takeaway. Freedom comes from having excess capital. So that's a long way of getting into it. But how would I start thinking about making money? Like, I've coached a lot of people in this, and I'd say there's 2 main things. There's mindset, and then there's skill set. If you talk to one of my operations managers at my previous business, Silla Candy, she would say, is it skill or will? And I think you need both of those things to be a successful entrepreneur, successful small business owner, successful online business owner. You need skill and will. And for me, skill and will is the business skills. These are skills that they just don't teach you in school. I don't understand why. Like how to package what you do, how to sell what you do, how to define an outcome, how to manage financially your personal life and professional life, how to run a P&L, like all of this stuff, which I'm going to be teaching my son as young as possible, because it's not complicated. Like this is stuff you could do with like, I don't know, year 4, year 5 maths, I assume. I mean, I was good at maths, but yeah, just plus, it's just adding, mostly adding and taking away and stuff. And it's using spreadsheets. I'm assuming that we can get kids to use spreadsheets at like 7 years old now. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but 10 years old should be able to read a P&L. It's not difficult. And then it's just like anything else. It's a creative process. Like if you're a creative, you can look at like, oh, what's causing this? What's causing that? Let's figure this out. I mean, it's crazy that they teach us all this complex stuff. Like I learned fluid dynamics and materials and all this kind of stuff, but they didn't teach me how to do the basic maths of reading a balance sheet and a P&L. How is the business doing? Well, I don't know, So let's go. Skill and will. So skill being the business skills side, not the skill of the service that we're providing, because the service we're providing is just the thing the business does. Doing business and business skill is a completely different skill set. Like this is something I messed up recently in Vietnam, but my belief about business is the business owner doesn't need to know the ins and outs of the service. They will learn the service and they'll become an expert over time, at least at a high level, be able to understand, communicate, quote, see problems, understand problems. But they do need to understand how to build the business. And the problem with people often who go into a business is because they do it because they're good at that thing. They're the artist, they're the technician. But being the technician doesn't make you necessarily good at making money through the thing, because money requires business skills. It requires packaging, marketing, selling, then delivering the service at the end. And the service is almost the afterthought because nobody experiences the service till after they buy it. So the whole business is how to attract customers, how to package what we do, how to make it interesting to them, and then how to sell the thing. Then once we've done that, everything else becomes relatively straightforward because you know how to do the service if you've done the service before. Just don't waste all your time getting the service amazing before you figure out how to sell it, because maybe it needs to be something different. Okay, so that's the kind of skill part. The will part, or the mindset part, for me, it's like the optimal level of delusion. It's like we need to believe that what we're going to do is going to succeed and have this irrational belief that eventually it will succeed. And there's no way back. Like maybe there's a plan B, but this is plan A. It has to work. I'm not getting a job. And this day, maybe I have the privilege now of having done this for a decade and having a lot of buffer, decades of buffer. I don't need to get a job. Maybe, probably ever. But depending on the lifestyle I want to lead. That being said, there's no plan B, If something happens, then there's just a new plan A. And that of like the thought I'll go back to a job in the future hasn't occurred to me in a decade now, because I now have proved to myself that I have the skill set to move forward no matter what. And a big thing I work on with clients, the one reason I work mostly with second decade founders is they figure that out already. They know they're not going back. They know they have the skill set, but they just need to level up to the next level. Because oftentimes, once we start having success, we start playing to defend that success rather than get to the next level. And for a lot of people, they get stuck in that in between. And that tends to happen anywhere between 5 and 15 years. So that's why I really target working with second decade founders, because once you unlock that, the momentum can be incredible and the growth can be incredible. But I've also worked with some startups before, like people founding companies, actually quite a lot of people starting their first business. And this is the part which a lot of coaches and a lot of business programs miss, is the mindset part. Why am I doing this? For what purpose? Where do I really want to get to? And why and how can I believe I'm going to get there? Why do I want to get there? Why must I get there? Because I've done this for over a decade now, and I met people 10 years ago who I was like, are they really going to be successful in this business? This seems like a crazy idea. When I was starting out 10 years ago, now I don't judge any idea as crazy, but this seems like a crazy idea. Seems like they don't have any experience. I could do this. And then I meet them again 5 years later, 6 years later. They're doing something a bit different, or they've modified their business, but they're making $20,000 a month. And I'm like, I would have employed this person for $2,000 a month or for $4,000 a month. This is not a $20,000 a month employee, but they've upskilled themselves. They know how to do the business side, and they've got this belief because now they've done it. They understand what's possible. And for me, that's the biggest thing. Like, it needs to work eventually. I'm going to make it work eventually. Therefore, it's going to work. It just has to work. So although I started talking here about making the first money, making the first $1,000, my feeling is that the first part is convincing ourselves why, how, and putting a mindset and strategy together. Sean says that he may join, but I feel like it's going to be crazy. So let's push that, and let's put Sean to next week. So let's talk a little bit about that. So once we've done the mindset, if you're interested in talking about mindset, how to set that up, reach out to me, drop me a DM. I'm more than willing to hop on a call with you, share some processes and action items and sheets that you can go through to figure out what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. Sean's confirmed we'll see him next week. So let's get Sean next week. And then I'm going to look at these questions. So as always, this seems like an AI generated list of questions. And I think this is super interesting and insightful because I've been using AI a lot recently. And my insight on AI is it's kind of like general knowledge. You know what I mean? It's like, these are the questions that are most asked on the internet. This is like how the average person thinks. So some of the stuff that comes back, I disagree with it. And I say, look, I want you to update your memory. This is not the way I think about this. So for example, this question, what would change in your life if you made an extra $500 this month? Interesting. Maybe an interesting question. But this is like an everyday question that I think somebody on the street would ask, someone who's not an entrepreneur, because the leverage of making extra $500 is so small. It's a small leverage activity, because the answer, there is only one answer to that, but at least for me, which is it's just an extra $500 in savings. Because we should be living below our means, or maybe I order Starbucks 4 more times a month. Like $500 is not going to go very far. As entrepreneurs, the way I would challenge somebody would be, if I want to do 10 times more revenue than I'm doing now, what would need to change in my business? What would need to change in my mindset? Because business is the ultimate leverage activity. The hypothetical for me is always 10x, as they say, shoot for the stars and you'll hit the moon anyway. Like, if we build something so it can go 10x where it is now, 2x is no problem whatsoever. And $500 is probably a third of a new client, or half a new client, or if you've got a very cheap service, a new client. But I would encourage people who are starting out to do higher value services, higher value activities. The reason being, it's just far more motivating when you're starting out to add $1,000, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000 a month on recurring, because very quickly you build up to that 5, 10, 15K. And whether it's 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, I've got clients selling $7,000 a month consulting packages. Hitting 10K is very easy if you just need to sell 2 5K packages. And selling a 5K package, because 5K for me is in that sweet spot where pretty much any business that's doing $500,000 can afford it as a service. A lot of people can afford it. You can show good value, and 5K is not that much overall. Of course, to a lot of people personally, 5K a month is a lot of money, but to any business doing any sort of medium revenue, even a single operator, 5K is not crazy. So an easy price point to go in at. For example, if I work with a coach, if I coach somebody, I charge between 2 and 3K. If I do strategic advisory, I charge between 5 and 10K a month. And as long as the ROI on that is that someone's pays me $60,000 in a year, and they make $300,000 extra dollars in a year, the ROI is crazy. And that's what we're looking for. As long as we can articulate to people when we do the business what the ROI is going to be, then you can charge whatever you want. I mean, I've met agencies charging $80,000 to $100,000 a month for Amazon management services, but the business is doing 20 million. So it's all about a percentage of the outcome you're going to receive for them. And then it becomes being very good at sales, and you'll have different people at different levels for that. And what I mean by that is, say I've had a lot of experience selling 2 to 10K a month packages when I was doing agency work. So if you want to start selling something, which is why I like working with people who are scaling up small agencies to go from like 5K to 50 or 60K a month, like I've done that so many times, and I know how to sell easily those type of packages. But I've never closed a 100K a month deal. My business partner in Seller Candy, Chad, he's closed those type of deals. He knows how to close those type of deals. So I would talk to him if I wanted to start closing those type of deals. If I was going to pass 20K a month, I've never sold anything over 20K a month. What do they need to know? I would jump on a call with someone who's done it many times before. I would interview the hell out of them to figure out what this person, how somebody buys, because I don't know. And my experience for that as well is, the smartest people in the room are the people that ask the most questions. Anyone that isn't asking questions, anyone that's like acting like they're superior or they know everything, I am very suspicious of, because in my experience, professionals or smart people dig into every question unless there's some reason not to. Like, we have to move fast. I'm the one in charge. We need to get it done. Like, emergency. Okay, cool. And that's where you go for superior posture. We need to fix this right now. Everyone get in your spots. Someone's coming. We have to get it sorted. But otherwise, being in superior posture, like saying, I know everything, you guys don't know what you're talking about, is the quickest way to lose the room, lose the team, lose respect. Let me know what you think about that. But that's my experience. And my experience with leading people is listen, understand, then guide them to the decision which either you want or they want. Like, the good thing about asking questions is you often come to a better decision than you would have chosen anyway. Or when they give an answer, you're like, yeah, that's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. My way is not the best way. As long as it gets done, it's fine. The only thing that matters is the outcome. Okay, so that was a long answer to the question. The question was, what would change in your life if you add an extra $500? My answer to that is hopefully nothing at all. Hopefully that's just an extra $500 of savings. As entrepreneurs, what would change in how would you need to change your life in order to make 10 times more than you're currently making? That's an empowering question, I find. So something to think about over this weekend or over this Friday. Yeah, if you wanted to make 10 times what you're currently making, what would need to change in your life and business? Would it be business model? Would it just be marketing? Sometimes you just need to increase your price 10x, and now you're making 10 times more money. I have seen people do that. Would it be who you work with? Would it be your customer? Would it be you? Like, what would you need to change in yourself? Like, what would you need to change about your life or business to make 10 times more money than you're currently making? Because then once you got the 10 times more money, then you can see how your life will change. And I think not at all to start with. You'll get some lifestyle creep over time. But for me, it's the freedom in order to not have to do anything, but you get to do everything. Because when you don't have any money or when you're living month to month, you have to do a lot. But when you have the freedom to take your own time, you get to do a lot. And my assumption is, or my hallucination is, you'll work just as hard or harder because you get to do it. You don't have to do it. Okay, that's my rant on that. So, how long have you been thinking about starting, and what is holding you back? So do you have something out there that you've been thinking about starting? What is it? My insight from working with people who've in their first year or their 10th year, this still happens, is the greatest way to procrastinate on starting a business is doing the business, like doing the service. Like, I need to make my service better. I need to make my product better. I need to understand my market better. Like, continuous masturbation by going around in circles about making the product better and never selling the product. Half of what I do in challenging founders, at least at the start, is taking them into laps. And this is something I learned from one of my sales mentors nearly a decade ago. Laps being leads, appointments, presentations, sales. And those words can change based on the business model. But how are we doing with leads this week? How are we doing with appointments, which means the leads booked in? How are we doing with presentations, which means the appointment showed up and it was qualified? So that's that one. And how are we doing with sales? How many of those presentations have two qualified leads convert? And the average agency, the average small founder-led business goes through these cycles of feast and famine. Like, oh, we're making so much money, we're getting richer, we record month. Oh shit, clients are churning. Oh no, we're going to go down 50%. Okay, no, it's good now. We started working again on that way down and go up again. And the only way to get out of that cycle of feast and famine is focusing on the laps: leads, appointments, presentation, sales. Every week I coach them. We quickly go in and we check, okay, how many leads came in this week? How many appointments did you set? Because the presentations and sales will just come out the back. But if we're not continuously putting leads in, people get busy, business going like crazy. Oh shit, we can't handle any more leads. Stop looking for leads. And because the sales cycle is in this part of here, as we start going down, we're like, oh no, we didn't start selling leads here. We should have converted here to replace this revenue. We're now having a downturn. So if there's one thing that you could do to help grow your business that you're already running, or if you're starting a business, is just write on a spreadsheet or on the wall of your house, leads, appointments, presentations, sales, and then every week review it and just put a number in. How many leads did I talk to? How many appointments did I set? how many of those appointments were qualified, so presentations, and then how many of those converted into revenue. And just doing that every week, you will make more money, especially if you don't want any zeros. Don't want any zeros. Keep people coming into the system, you will make money. I know Hormozy's got this thing of doing 100 a day, 100 outreach messages, or 100 minutes of content, or 100 something or others. And if you do one of those things, there's one of his books here. And if you do one of those things for 100 days, you will make money because you've just sent 100, you've sent 10,000 messages, you've done 10,000 minutes of content. Like, you put that much effort in, you are going to make money because you are. And somebody will know, like, and trust you because you spend all that time connecting with people. Let's do one or two more, and then we will wrap today up. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I'm not sure of all the comments coming through, so we'll check afterwards that everything's come through. What to do if nobody's buying what you're selling? I like that question. Okay. This is more like a sales theory one. So sales 101, what do people aren't buying what you're selling? Well, firstly, what are you selling? So for me, sales is more about discovery than it is about selling. Selling being, convincing people to buy stuff from you. No, I think it's more about understanding what the customer wants. So sales 101, let's do the 5-minute sales 101 breakdown. Sales I see as kind of a 2-stage process. First one being discovery, second one being pitch. And for my sales 101, I would be, if you haven't sold much before, or if you're selling a new product, take it slow. Like, go as slow as possible, because rapport, know, like, trust is built over time. And when you're not super clear of what you're selling and the pain point, time will fill in all the cracks in this process. So 1, discovery. The whole point of discovery, this is kind of the Sandler sales system version, which is the emotional sell, is that the point of discovery is for us to understand the problem better than the customer, the person we're talking to, the prospect. Because if the prospect thinks we understand the problem as well as them or better, they will naturally think that we know how to solve it. So we can help them have an insight about it, an epiphany, an understanding. That's what we want to do in that first call. So what I would do, framing the first call, the discovery call, be like three-part call, always 3-part call. First part, framing. Second part, questions. Third part, framing the end and setting the next appointment. So framing, questions, closing but not closing, just ending the call. So first part, hey, prospect. Welcome to this call. It is great to connect with you. The purpose of this call is for us to deep dive into the problems you're having and see if that we may be a good fit or not to serve you. If I do think we're a good fit, I'm going to take everything we talk about today away to our team. We're going to make a plan, and then we can get together again next week to review that plan together. If I don't think we're a good fit, then I'll tell you, we'll stay friends, and I'll introduce you to somebody who might be a better fit. How does that sound to you? And then you're asking for permission. They will always say, yeah, that sounds great. So what you're doing there is you're framing. Framing gives you control. Like, it's my call. I'm framing this call. I'm in control of this call, subtly, subconsciously. 2, it tells them you're not going to try and close them, because nobody likes to be sold to and closed. So you're telling them at the start of the call, I'm not going to try and close you on this call. The purpose of this call is not that. The outcome is never me closing you. So they can be free, they can relax, but sometimes, a lot of the time, you get on a sales call, you're expecting somebody to try and sell something to you. Then the whole time you're like, when's the sale coming? When's the pricing coming? Let's remove that. And then you're getting their agreement. Their agreement being, cool, yes, I agree with that. Awesome. So that's the first stage. Easy. Second stage is questions. I usually start general and then go specific. And then I have a very special ending question from one of my coaches in the past. I should probably stop saying that, because everything I have learned, just like anyone else, is a mixture of experience and mentorship. And really good mentorship in different areas has made me really good in different areas, whether that's finances, sales, coaching, all that stuff. Anyway, so questions. Okay, tell me about your business. I usually start with tell me about your business. They will naturally go deep into the problem anyway. And then just explore your curiosity. The whole point is to stay in this thing for 20 to 30 minutes going, okay, what specifically about that? What about this? How many team members do you have? What's your approximate revenue? What are your goals this year? How are you going to get there? What's holding you back? Why did you book this call? And then just deeper and deeper into your area of expertise that your business is solving to help them articulate the problem and just explore with them. You're coaching them at this point. You're exploring, you're guiding them. After you've done that, final question always, is there anything else I should be asking you? This is the most important question of all the questions. The reason for that is people don't buy because, so the reason, a reason people don't buy, which one of the major ones, because they think that you don't know this. You don't understand this about their business, which means you could never fully understand their problem. Because as we said at the start, the whole purpose of discovery is for you to understand their problem. So if that's the case, then that question, is there anything else I should be asking you, is removing that niggling thought and like, oh yeah, he hasn't asked about this. Then they say, oh no, you should be asking about that. Oh, cool. Then I repeat the question to them. They say, okay, blah, 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 blah. So then I ask the same question again. Is there anything else I should be asking you? And this question, I've asked it 4 or 5 times in the past, is you keep asking it until there's no answer. Because this is a way of removing all like back of the mind objections before you even get into the sale part. So is there anything else I should be asking you? Okay, once that's all done, then it's the ending of the call. This is a couple of different formats. One is the simple one. Yes, all right, awesome. This has been amazing. I definitely think we can help you. I'm going to take this away to the team, put a plan together so we can share next week. What day works for you? What time? Simples. Book the next call. Never leave the site of a call, ever, without another call booked. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up to chase people and waste time. So that's good. More complicated version, if you've been doing a value add sale, like this is how much money you're losing, this is how much it's worth. For example, you're selling ad services or you're selling optimizations or SEO or something like that, and you can quantify it. I would summarize with quantification and then do the same thing. So seems like you're currently spending $10,000 a month on PPC. You see the opportunity to scale to 100K. You believe, because you've seen it before, the ROAS, the return on ad spend at 100K, be 3x. So we're looking for a 200K additional cash flow. You operate on a 70% margin, you said. So that'd be an extra $100,000 a month in profit. Is that right? They're like, yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I'm going to take that away to the team. You know what? Luckily, our fees are going to be a lot less than 100K. And they go, yeah. So make a joke. That's what I usually do. And then we book the next call. That's it. That is discovery. And on the end of that call, the prospect knows whether they would buy from you. Like the emotional decision of, well, do I trust this person? Do they understand my problem? Would I buy from them? Is done. The logical part of that decision is the pitch call, which I think we'll maybe cover on the next stream because I've already gone for 10 minutes about how to do discovery. But that's the next part, is the pitch call. And that's where we give them the logical evidence behind the emotional decision they just made to say, oh, wow, I would buy from this person. They understand my problem. They're a professional and I trust them enough to hop on a future call. Going back, the only other thing which I missed from there from the questions is who are decision makers. So really important thing to discover on the discovery call is who are the decision makers. And decision makers are anyone that would need to be in the loop for this decision. So how do you make decisions? Another question for the questions section. Is there anyone else that wouldn't like that would need to be in the loop to make this decision? Who makes decisions? Because if you ask who, they will usually say, I do. And you go, cool. And is there anyone else who would want to be in the loop? And they go, oh, well, my wife, my business partner, my team, all these people. And then they must be on the follow-up call. So when you book the call at the end, you said, okay, and actually you said your wife would want to be on the decision. Can we make sure she's there? Because I know that I'm sure you've had the experience of trying to pass along information to somebody else. It will never be the same if you have to pass it along, and it'd be great if we could just do this once. I mean, I'll jump on again if we have to, but I'd love to do it with you and your wife together. Is that okay? And they go, yes. Okay, awesome. So what do you think of that? Was that useful? We went into some money, and then money went into sales, because sales is the only way to make money. Well, sales, marketing, content. I've done a lot of sales, and I just want to say there are other points of view on this. I think was it Naval or one of those guys says that sales makes up for bad marketing, marketing makes up for bad product, because he's a product guy. So it's all about product. But I've seen people sell, millions and millions of dollars of average product because they're great salespeople. So I think all of them are good skills, and sales is a skill that will always serve you in the future in any role. Okay, so thank you for watching. If you found this useful, DM me. I would love to either give you a session where we can dive into helping you find out what your why is and why you want to start a business, and what your new why is if you've been questioning that. If you'd like to be coached for free, DM me. I can get you on the next stream or the stream after that. I think we've got Sean next week, but the week after that is free. And if you do want a discovery session, I can give you 75% off a normal discovery session if you've watched the stream, because I value you actually taking the time to support. Like every viewer supports, because it increases reach on the next stream. And we're doing this at least once a week going forward. Cool. So I appreciate every one of you for watching. Thank you for supporting me and the channel. It's been an amazing journey the last June, July, and then 10 months of coaching. I never thought I would be up at nearly 400 hours of coaching in the last 10 months, tens of thousands of dollars created, and hundreds of thousands of dollars of value created for my clients, which has been amazing. And seeing them grow, like personally, professionally, business, income, has been actually the best part of my life so far. And I thought that I had at some point reached a pinnacle, and things keep going. So thank you so much for your support. It means so much to me personally. And thank you. Looking forward to connecting with all of you at some point, and see you later. Bye, everyone.